no deja de colocar excusas en lugar de enfocarse en realidades objetivas, y terminó siendo aleccionado por Charlie Kirk. En este video, Kirk, quien nos ha dejado grandes reflexiones y argumentos para enfrentar el progresismo, conversa con un joven que sostiene que la pobreza de las personas negras en Estados Unidos, y que incluso podría aplicarse a nivel mundial, se debe al triste pasado que las precede. Sin embargo, Kirk le responde con lecciones que te darán un argumento más para contradecir las falsedades progre. Mira el video completo y dime, tú, al igual que algunos progres en redes sociales, ¿crees que Kirk fue racista por decir estas verdades crudas? Y además, ¿piensas que lo que le ocurrió a Kirk ha sido orquestado por la izquierda progre?
I feel like you don't think I belong here.
Oh, really? Why?
How I am a black man, and because of I'm not qualified enough to be here. Yes, I am.
Okay, great, then you belong.
But why do I have to prove that to you?
You don't. You brought it up, I didn't.
Okay, but can you explain to me your position on DEI?
Yes, people should not be in positions just because of the color of their skin. Hard stop.
Okay, but do you feel like I'm here because
I'm not feeling anything towards you, actually.
Okay,
I'm not prejudicing you, I'm not stereotyping you. I'm saying that it's a material...
I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you are.
No, you are. You said, I don't feel comfortable being here. You started with...
I didn't say I wasn't comfortable being here. I said I feel like you made it to where I got here through DEI.
So let's examine that. What have I said that makes you feel that way?
When you mentioned how DEI is only just putting people of color and marginalized groups in spaces, even if they're not so
correct.
Qualified.
That's exactly what DEI does.
But that's not all that it does. You're categorizing it as something it isn't.
No, that's exactly that is the charter missions.
That's not all.
Okay,
that it
so
does.
diversity, equity. So equity is outcome based. It's about making people who are of different skin colors have the same outcome, regardless whether or not they are qualified. The best example we have of this is the Students for Fair Admission Harvard Supreme Court case, where black students, they could have a SAT score 300 points lesser than the Asian equivalent and still get into Harvard. That is DEI in practice. I believe when you're hiring for an organization or for a company or for whatever you are doing, you should prioritize merit and character, and race should mean nothing. We should build around things that matter and not things that don't matter.
Ese tipo de prácticas, esas que priorizan identidad sobre mérito, crean costos burocráticos elevados, innecesarios, y siempre terminan dividiendo más que uniendo, así que de inclusión, diversidad y equidad no tienen nada.
You have to also take into the fact that black people have only been able to completely legally be able to make profit for themselves for around 60 years. And this is, no, since segregation ended in 1965 and the Equal Rights Act in 1965, so what you're telling, there's not...
Presta atención a la pregunta que le hará Kirk a este joven en este momento, es una de las muchas muestras de que era un excelente defensor del sentido común.
So let's talk about you. How did that impact you? How did something that happened 60 years ago impact your life?
It impacts me all the
How?
time. Okay.
You're at Texas A&M, you're doing great.
Okay, yes, sure, yeah.
So aren't you a living example that all that's a bunch of nonsense and you could just act good and behave well and succeed?
But there's also living examples of the exact opposite. If you look in the impoverished neighborhoods in certain parts of Chicago or St. Louis, there's black communities being thrown aside because they're not getting education.
Thrown aside? Okay,
yes,
so
aside.
I think we can get somewhere. Why have the black community gotten poorer since the passage of the Civil Rights Act? Tell me that.
Because of the way the culture has been perpetuated through the years.
Hold on. Think about it. So they were richer when we were segregated and more racist. America's become less racist. Do you think the fact that 70% of black youth don't have a dad around is probably pretty important?
That's because of the culture.
So respectfully allow me to interject. How does the white culture impact the fact whether or not a black dad stays around when he impregnates a woman?
I'm not saying it's the white culture.
What is it?
The culture that has been perpetuated through the 200 years of slavery, the 100 years of segregation, and Jim Crow laws.
The marriage, so I got to interject again, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt too much. But in 1960, before the Civil Rights Act, 20% of black youth had a dad around. Now it's, 20% were single fathers, 80% had a dad around. It's been inverted. So we actually have seen black dads run away from their kids the last 60 years. Why is that?
Because of the raised incarceration rates, because of the perpetuated culture.
So how does one go to jail?
That's obvious. I'm not answering that question.
Yeah, so maybe it's because they committed crimes.
En lugar de aceptar la realidad objetiva, este joven solo busca la manera de defender sus puntos de vista con victimismo.
Okay, but when you're forced it's not just the, oh, this is old, this is in the past, this doesn't affect you anymore.
Okay, so actually let's take a different group. How did the Holocaust impact Jews? They're doing pretty well.
Well, because they got reparations, we didn't.
How? What reparations did the Jews
Through
get?
acknowledgement, through money, through
No,
all
we acknowledge slavery happened. So,
A diferencia de lo que proponen algunos progres en Estados Unidos, las reparaciones a los judíos fueron acuerdos estatales y pagos a casos específicos, no para todos.
Okay, but you're sitting here and acting like it plays no role.
no,
now.
but to your argument, the Holocaust was 80 years ago. Half of all the Jews on the planet were killed. Everything they earned was taken. Jews are doing great. If all of a sudden something that happened 80 years ago impacts your material prosperity, how did Jews defy the curve? How did poor Asians do so well? Why is it that Asians are now the wealthiest minority in America, many of whom came with no money in the 1950s or 60s?
Because of the culture and opportunities that were provided to them.
But you're not hearing me out. Black Americans have had the same opportunities. However,
But people still look at us like criminals every day.
Hold on, but I don't look at you like a criminal.
I'm not saying
but,
you do,
but
I'm saying some people do.
But I mean, do you want me to be brutally honest with you, or do you want me to be politically
be
correct?
brutally honest with me.
Okay, do black people commit more crimes than white people? It's not even close.
Okay, but you have to take into account the culture that has been perpetuated.
Okay, got it. So we can agree on this. Do you mean internal black culture?
It's deeper than that. Like,
do you think, let's take time out. Do you think the average rap artist that a black kid in the hood is listening to is glorifying marriage and family and saving your money? The point being is that black youth, as they are being raised, their role models are largely not glorifying staying with one woman, getting married, going to church. And if you're wrong, show me the black role models that are doing that. There might be a couple I could think of, maybe. But if it's about culture, you're right. The internal black culture has collapsed the last 60 years. We're no longer elevating the family. We're no longer elevating staying with the person that you're with. So our contention here as conservatives is that the systemic racism stuff is a bunch of rubbish. Instead, it's systemic bad choices.
Do you feel that systemic racism isn't real?
Of course not. What can I do that you can't do? Name it.
Okay.
No, seriously. What can I do that you can't do?
Fallacy. That's a slippery slope.
No, it's not.
I don't know why you're
very simple. No, because back in 1940, you would have been able to answer that question. Well, Charlie, there's a bathroom over there that I can't go to. There's a major league team.
I can't walk into the grocery store and get the same looks that you do. I walked into Brookshire Brothers a couple of weeks ago when I was looked at.
That's an insanely hyper-paranoid way of living life. But that's not evidence, right?
It's a real example.
By the way, if I walk into a black neighborhood, I get bad looks too, okay? So I don't know what the contention is. But going back to your main contention, when you practice DEI, because that was your main point, right? You are rewarding bad culture. You even acknowledge it. You are saying that someone should be there based on the color of their skin. We say skin color doesn't matter. If you want that position, work harder, study harder, and then you might be able to get that position.
Hoy en día vemos cómo se insiste en un discurso de victimismo dentro de la comunidad negra en Estados Unidos. Se repite constantemente la idea de que todo problema económico o social que atraviesan se debe únicamente a su pasado histórico. Y, aunque ese pasado existió y fue duro, no podemos quedarnos atrapados en él para siempre. Según la Oficina de Estadísticas Laborales, más del 70% de los hogares afroamericanos en situación de pobreza provienen de familias sin una estructura estable. Y eso no tiene que ver con el color de piel, sino con la cultura y las decisiones que se toman en el entorno familiar. Sin embargo, hay sectores que buscan justificarlo todo y hasta pedir beneficios o ayudas económicas solo por pertenecer a un grupo racial. Eso no construye igualdad sino dependencia. Lo más preocupante es cómo ciertos aspectos culturales, como el rap comercial que glorifica la violencia, las drogas y el dinero fácil, han terminado influyendo en muchos jóvenes. En lugar de inspirarlos a superarse, les transmiten un modelo de vida que los empuja más hacia la pobreza. El verdadero cambio no vendrá de subsidios o de discursos progres que alimentan la división, sino de fomentar la responsabilidad personal, la educación y la reconstrucción de valores familiares. Solo así se puede romper ese círculo y alcanzar una verdadera igualdad.